me, I see collectivism as a person who is defined by other people in a group, where I see individualism as you are uniquely defined by your own identity, not impacted by other people. What's your experience in terms of, personally or with clients? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's such an important topic. I think that, I think that initially especially from sort of just like a anthro history point of view, had always sort of seen it very black and white. Like these are the cultures and countries that are more collectivistic in nature. These are like, this is the East, this is the West, right? The West is more individualistic. These are these Western values that
Mhm.
sometimes come in and clash with Eastern values. And I think that I'm really finding, especially as I work with clients who are straddling kind of multiple cultures, and I think living in a country that is Asian, is very Asian, but
Mhm.
that there are these sort of influences that come from being a pretty multicultural, sort of globalized city.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there's just more nuance, I guess. I think each person can
Mhm.
have some maybe influences from family and from sort of deeply ingrained cultural identity and culture around them,
Mhm.
that are perhaps more community oriented or based on other people's expectations of you, right? So you're living based
Mhm.
on how you're supposed to be. But then I
Yeah.
think there is a lot more, there's just been more individualism born in sort of maybe the last few generations,
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
there's space to maybe challenge some of the sort of ways in which the status quo, right? And maybe
Mhm.
try to figure out how you fit into it rather than just fitting in or trying to fit in without question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I see sometimes, like with my clients. Just for FYI, I might mention this from time to time, but when I talk about my clients, I'm going to be very careful about revealing details and sticking to generalizations and observations. And what I've kind of noticed is that sometimes it seems to be about um, there are gender role obligations or
Mm,
expectations
mm,
tied to gender. So maybe if there is uh, a female that is more likely to take care of an ailing parent, and it's kind of on the female to take that on. I've also seen men kind of use their education as a way to give back to their family,
mm,
as
mm,
it might be kind of ingrained to give back some of the finances they've made, as a way
right.
of expressing gratitude for the family, even if the family can afford or can't afford that, you know?
Right. Right. The filial piety sort of idea of
Yeah.
that's an expectation, or that's sort of like a really ingrained part of family dynamics, to sort of to take care of your elders, to take care of parents,
Yeah.
even if it's, whether it's financial or otherwise. And I do think there are these gendered ways in which the expectations are put on people, and it can be a bit of a tussle sometimes on kind of accepting perhaps that, right?
Yeah, yeah, and oftentimes it's sometimes like there's this expectation that maybe multiple family members live together, and that's a way
Mm,
of kind of like sharing those obligations. And sometimes it almost becomes this emotional kind of baggage, or this
mm,
emotional obligation, if that makes sense. Like kind
mm,
of
mm,
having that expectation placed on certain family members to take care of the anxiety that maybe
mm.
the parents or grandparents aren't able to express.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That it's not just down to support in the form of finances or even sort of caregiving in the more traditional kind of, ways. But yeah, I think the emotional, I think you put it really well, right? The like holding or taking care of the emotions. I think also when I work with clients that are coming to therapy and really invested in exploring their own stuff and figuring out how to cope better in life and just sort of manage
Mhm.
all the challenges in life. Um, Often some of the things that they're challenged by are their families, and a lot of those people are not going to therapy. That's still
Yeah.
something that's like stigmatized and
Mhm.
not okay to do, as I think some of the older generations are still just, it's they're, I guess they're dismissive of the significance of sort of mental health, anxiety, depression, that these are valid and real experiences that we have a lot more tools and vocabulary for than they did
Mhm.
growing up or even as adults. So I think, yeah, with
Yeah.
the clients I work with, and I think especially what you're saying around having to hold and manage other people's emotions, it's
Mhm.
often that those people are not aware, or at least um, you know so often, right, the family members are perhaps dysregulated or,
Mhm.
acting out in ways that we as therapists or in this work might be able to see as emotional dysregulation, or things that they're
Mhm.
having. There's trauma that passes down generationally too, in these ways of how they treat their
Yeah.
family members, how they treat their children. Um so yeah, I think that, yeah, it makes me think of the clients that work so hard, but that they're struggling with issues that come from family that don't have the capacity or don't have the knowledge or don't have the awareness to really be able to tackle their own stuff.
Yeah, 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 and just to parrot that there's often this mentality of, just suck it up, you know, just move on. If we keep trudging forward, we're
Mm,
not held back by that past.
yeah,
Whereas really,
yeah,
in the upcoming generations, that baggage is definitely going to affect those future generations. And
yeah.
instead, it's like the it's almost like I don't know how to frame this articulately, but like almost like the privilege that comes with being the generation that can process, that has the ability to bypass the stigma of seeking mental health,
Mm,
and kind of um maybe the parents or grandparents generation, they weren't in a position where they could slow down and look at these harder things because maybe they were in a fight or flight kind of state, or maybe because of their parents generation they weren't able to explore those deeper
yeah,
issues. um,
yeah.
so I think it's something that very much affects, both our clientele, and I very much enjoy talking about this subject.
Yeah.